Welcome to another Rugby League Down South. Coming up on this week's programme, London Broncos' most high-profile recruit for 2015, the outgoing Wakefield fullback, Richard Mathers. Hear from former London man, now Sky Sports expert Jon Wells on a whole host of topics. And ahead of the Challenge Cup, hear from the London Rugby League lads who will be the ball boys on the day, and the plans for a fun day linking in with the final up at the Hive, the home of the Broncos, and of course Barnet FC. So that all those coming up in the programme here on Rugby League Down South. Once again, thank you for your continued support. Apologies for the sporadic nature somewhat of these latest podcasts. I don't think I've ever been as busy as I am this month, and I think it's only going to get worse. That's why from now on this podcast is going to be fortnightly at best. I'll do them when I can, I promise. It's just that there are so many other things that I'm having to sort, organise and deal with at the moment that's squeezing the time in my life that I can spend on my hobbies, which in reality is all this podcast is. So of course we all wish it was more, but unfortunately that's just the way that it is at the moment. I just want to say thank you for your support so far. Thank you for downloading these programs. Thank you for listening to. Thank you for your emails, your tweets, your interaction. I will do what I can when I can. Hopefully you understand that, and yes, these programs will be fortnightly at best from now on, and we'll see what happens in the future. But like I say, I will continue to do what I can when I can. Absolute promise. Right then, let's get on with it. Let's hear from Richard Mathers then, the latest recruit for London Broncos for 2015. The most high profile, would you go with? The reaction seemed to be reasonably positive when the announcement was made, and seems like obviously his wealth of experience at the top level, and yeah, was it a surprise that he was coming down? I mean, a lot of people sort of said, it's great to see a player of his calibre wanting to support things that are going on in London, which I absolutely agree. And I just wondered, again, as with all these, as with all the players that Broncos sign, why is it that they're coming to Broncos? What do they see as the future? And why is a player like Richard Mathers interested in coming to spend a couple of years in the capital to try and rebuild this side? Well, to find out, I gave him a bit of a call. I did. I gave him a call. And this is the thoughts of Richard Mathers then, the fullback for Wakefield, leaving. Obviously, high profile career he's had in Super League, and he will be with the London Broncos in the Championship in 2015. Here he is, Richard Mathers.
Richard, well, joining the Broncos for next year, I said yesterday that it's probably the most high-profile signing they've made. It caused a few waves. Why have you decided that Broncos should be your next step?
Oh, well, thank you for the kind introduction. It came out around quite quickly, really. It was, I've been off contract with Wakefield, and was hoping to just explore my options, just see what was out there, and then the London Broncos came in, and after initial talks, I had the chance to finally meet Joey Grimer up in Leeds, as it ironically happened, while he was up preparing for a game up here, and I ended up sort of sitting with him for over 3.5 hours, and
wow.
It just went in 5 minutes and just talked everything from life and family and his plans for the Broncos and London life and his philosophies and everything. And I've just left feeling $1 million really about the move. I was sold there and then, and that was the first meeting I'd had with him. That was the first official contact of any sort of serious note I'd had with anyone of the Broncos. And I met with Joey and Mike Eccles, his strength and conditioning coach, and we just sat and chewed the fat. And I came home and I said, that's it, that's a club for us. And just the opportunity, I guess, that Joey sold to me was of making a new Broncos and wiping the slate clean. And obviously, up in Leeds and the perception of the Broncos at the minute is quite admittedly by themselves as well is not that great. They've had a terrible run in the Super League this year with the results wise. But you don't really sort of understand until you look a bit further and speak to people, how passionate the people for the club to do well are, and certainly there's no more passionate than Joey Grimer was, and the way he outlined his strategy for the club, not just for this season, next season, but for beyond, to make it a stable club, and about putting some culture and some worth back into the Broncos jersey, and he, what he wanted from me was, to help lead that, and with the professionalism of the place, and to get the right people on board for the right reasons, and really, when I sort of look back over my Super League career, which started in 2002, some of my toughest games were against the Broncos, particularly down at the Stoop and the different places where they'd played, with some real tough quality sides. And we always had great respect for the London Broncos, and I guess if we're talking honestly, it's probably waned a little bit in the last couple of years. So, it's a massive challenge to do. But the exciting thing is, as of when the last ball's kicked to the season, everything's brand new, and it's a completely new challenge.
Does it worry you in any way? I mean, you say you were keen to stay on with Wakefield. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But I mean, does it worry you that they are in the Championship? I mean, obviously, I don't know. Would you have considered a Championship club in the north, or was it just the fact that it was in the Championship, but it gives you another opportunity and a fresh challenge and something different with it being in London? Yeah,
definitely. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. And I had a couple of strong offers from Championship clubs in the north, and to be perfectly honest, when I went and met Joey that Saturday night and walked away, I was sold, and it wasn't genuinely till 2 or 3 days later when it was sort of finalised and all, and someone mentioned, so how are you feeling about playing in the Championship last year, and it really didn't dawn on me that I was going to, be part of the Broncos playing in the Championship, and it was more of Joey's selling of how he wanted the Broncos to be in the long run, so the short-term goal next year is getting everybody together and setting some standards that we all agree to and we work towards, and making that shirt and the club that they're the minimum standards you have to reach to play for the Broncos, and changing that perception of the club both on the field and off the field, and things like that. It really excited me in that sense. That it's not just about going and putting your boots on and playing on the field. I felt I had more of a responsibility, and Joey wanted me to have more of a responsibility of creating the culture and the ethos of the club and the perception of the club. And I guess when you think of it like that, that's what ultimately attracted me, the full package. And I guess the challenge of playing in the Championship is obviously a completely new one to me, but one that I'm really looking forward to. And I guess the challenge of doing that with the Broncos, it's probably, if we're talking brutally and honestly, which is what we're going to try and do next year, is probably been a blessing in disguise that they've been relegated, which no one likes or wants teams to see, but it gives us, the club, a chance to regroup and start a clean slate and build the right foundations in the Championship with the aim to being competitive, and the ultimate aim is get back in that Super League.
You mentioned the profile and the image, and how things have waned this week, and I think it's absolutely true across the game, and in a way rightly so, because the club haven't been up to it really, have they, in the last 12 months. When you sit down, you chat to Joey Grime, and he tells you things. I mean, what are the things that he tells you that convince you?
Well, I think he's been first of all, he's been in some really successful programs in the NRL in Australia. He's worked under the bulk of his career under Brian and Tony Smith at Parramatta Eels, and the instant connection there, it's there for all to see with my relationship with Tony Smith and the standards that I know Tony sets are unparalleled in the league that I've been under. I've played my best rugby and coincidentally been fortunate enough to win all the things I've won, all under Tony's stewardship. And you look at, Joe was very much about, he wanted to mould the person first, and then the rugby player follows, and the way they behave and the way they act and the way they represent the club, and being good people, and then also the method in which he coaches. Obviously all different coaches have their own different styles, but Joe's is very much a skills-based method. Likes to promote the ball, likes athletic, entertaining rugby, and likes his players fit and fast, and the skill side of it was very big. And I guess if you get the right combination of people buying into the same goal, wanting to work hard at that, and I've seen it firsthand myself. I saw when Tony Smith came in at the Rhinos in 2004, we were just a bunch of kids who didn't know nowhere near as much as what Tony had ended up eventually teaching us. But what we did have was a bunch of young, hard-working men who wanted to improve and wanted to be them people. And then the rest is history at the Rhinos, and likewise at Warrington in 2009. I remember vividly sat under a stand at Wilderspool and Tony sitting everybody down, all them superstars that they had there, and promised every single one of them would have success at that club in the not too distant future. And anyone who didn't want to be part of that success, or anyone who wasn't prepared to buy into the ways he wanted to be, could walk out the door now. And it had a real profound effect on me that it wasn't the superstar names and it wasn't the big egos that got you the right results. It was a combination of the group wanting to work hard and the right leader. And Joey really sort of reinforced a lot of them beliefs that I really believe in as well. And he wanted to really make the journey a really successful one for everybody involved.
I guess what we need Joey Grimy, don't we, to go around all the fans in the North, all the journalists in the North, everyone sort of that has an image or profile of the Broncos, and sit down for 3.5 hours with them and chat it through, and the image might change a little. Yeah,
without a doubt, and that's probably a stage of where the Broncos are at the minute, and that's part of the challenge, and that's part that excites me, is changing that perception of the club, changing that perception of what we represent down in London. And I just think there's a market there that's been untapped, and for whatever reason, for a number of years, and both on and off the field, it's a really exciting challenge for me. And if I can portray and a little bit of the Broncos and have a visual, and the people in the North can have a bit of a visual and recognise somebody down the south, and maybe want to follow and see how the Broncos are going, and I help fly the flag for the Broncos. It's really exciting, but the results ultimately will do that for us. That'll be the easiest vehicle to drive the Broncos, brand and get it out there, because everybody loves a winning side, and if we can get some wins and have a really good pre-season and we'll build our way back up into Super League, hopefully. Down at the Hive, it's a fantastic ground at 5,000. It's compact. It's a fantastic venue to watch live sport. Hopefully, we can, get some of them die-hard Broncos fans who've probably lost their way in following the Broncos over the last few years, and get a few more fans back and get people believing back in the Broncos.
Do you know, I could have talked to Richard for a long, long time about everything that's going on. Obviously, it's a big thing for him and his family to come down to London and commit their future. It's obviously a great opportunity, and I think that's probably the bottom line of all this. And like I say, we could have chatted for hours with Richard, but it is the opportunity, and he said that it's what London brings, and that is the most important thing and the underlying theme that I think, and amongst all this, the opportunity that London can bring to Super League is recognised by many, particularly when you have a 3.5 hour conversation with Joe Grimy and he gets to explain it all. But I think there are people that see the potential, that know what's going on, or that find out what's going on and instantly buy into it. And yes, that opportunity that London have, and that opportunity that London can give to players, that, okay, they're going to be in the Championship in 2015, but what they'll get by being in London at that time is attractive to very many people, and much more attractive than potentially going elsewhere. So those are thoughts of Richard Mathers. I'll have to catch up with him when he's down in London, and when things get cracking on pre-season, we'll have another extended chat with him, I'm sure. Right now, to the thoughts of a former London man, a man who spent many a year, I think it was 11 years, down in the capital playing for London Broncos and Harlequins Rugby League. A man called Jon Wells. You may know him from appearances on Sky, of course. I'm sure you probably know of him from wearing a London shirt over the last few years or so. But now back up in the north with his family. As you'll hear in a minute, doing things rather different than rugby league. But as he said to me before we actually recorded this conversation, that he's getting paid for talking about something that he'd talk about for free. So he's enjoying himself doing his rugby league stuff, is Jon Wells. It's great to have a chat with him as well. So I thought I'd just catch up, really, to see, to get his thoughts on the Broncos and what's happened, to get his sort of neutral view, really, having been inside the bubble, been outside the bubble with his experience before he came to London, and since then with Sky Television. So here are the thoughts of a good friend of the show, good friend of mine, Jon Wells, giving you his thoughts on all sorts.
Wellesley, well, it's been a while since we've chatted, but so much has happened. You've obviously sort of gone to observe Broncos and what's happening in the south from afar. What's your general opinion on sort of where the club are now? Because it hasn't been a great year, it hasn't been a great couple of years, has it really?
No, I mean, from looking again from a, not completely disconnected, but having relocated my family back up into the north of England and obviously undertaking the Sky work, I am still fairly closely linked with London. My personal opinion over the last 2 or 3 seasons is, it looked like a lot of asset stripping and winding down, that there'd been a decision either consciously or subconsciously made that they were going to struggle in the next couple of years, and I don't know which is whether that was a premonition or whether one followed the other, one fact followed the other. So I think since a lot of the English players who'd committed a lot of time to that, and the Australians that had come over and really taken to London life and established themselves there with families and raising families in London, to get rid of such a lot of that core of that team in one go was always going to be problematic for them. There were some good quality players there that left, and perhaps there were some decisions that were rightly made in allowing players to move on. But I think the cull that you saw at the end of 2009 and 2010, 2011, really the writing was on the wall from that point onwards. I have a huge amount of respect for the development programme that's going on down in London, and we see almost month on month a new name that appears, a new name that we get to talk about in the Super League and at the upper echelons of the sport, and those players are coming from that huge talent pool and that huge development programme that's going on in London and the South East. And that's heartening to see. What we missed, or what I saw we missed from afar, was the top of that pyramid, the top of that structure should be a competitive Super League team based in London that is the ultimate aim for all those players, and unfortunately that's not been the case. And I think London and the RFL have failed in that department. That was their side of the bargain. They need to be providing top quality rugby league and a club there that players could progress to, and I think that's obviously no longer the case. That's the disappointing side of it. In talking to a few of the backroom staff, hugely slimmed down backroom staff, I might add. There were some decisions that are being made almost on a week-to-week basis over the last 18 months. There was no really forward planning until Joe Grimer was given the go-ahead to take over from Tony Ray, and I think David Hughes, had finally committed again to the years going forward, 2015 and beyond, whether that was in the Super League or Championship. So I think now that people know what's happening, that makes it a lot easier then to prepare for the future, and a lot easier in terms of player recruitment as well, because if there's one thing that a player wants to know when he signs a contract, is that for his services and for the time and effort he puts in and the relocation, that's going to be honoured. So that was the problem last year. We had players arriving. I think at the start of the season we did a preview on this, and there was a couple of players in Josh Drinkwater and Atella Vea, I remember, arriving in the country after the start of the regular season. So there's no pre-season. There was still getting to know players' names. The numbers and the names on the back of players' shirts were as important to the other players in that London club as they were to the commentators and the pundits that talk about them, which is, it's not ideal, is it? Not ideal preparation at all, and that's been borne out by their results this year.
I was going to ask if you were surprised by what happened, but you sort of mentioned before that that the writing was on the wall from the changes that you saw. I mean, it's players like yourself that spent so long at the club. There's a number of you mentioned people from other English clubs that had spent time in London, the Aussies that had come over and devoted time as well. It must hurt to see almost the good effort and the work that you put in not go to waste, but sort of be retracted on so much and gone backwards. But I mean, what do you think? Is it possible to say what it was down to and why it's happened? Because it did seem like there was a time where things could have been built on, but it wasn't.
Yeah, there was an opportunity there that could have been seized. I mean, when Brian McDermott came down, a lot of the good work in taking the club forward during his tenure down there. The board of directors and David were a lot more positive about the future of the club. Now, that's not all down to them. I mean, I don't think the RFL helped I think the RFL could have done an awful lot more in terms of the guidance off the field, and particularly in terms of the helping with that development structure that they have down there. Whether you think that's fair or not, as a heartland supporter of rugby league or a supporter from outside those traditional heartlands, the fact is that the Rugby Football League made big noises about the importance of London being in the Super League, for its credibility as a national sport. And I don't think they really back that up with tangible help. I know they always said they were on the end of the phone, and then latterly this year they had a couple of people who come down for one day a week or one afternoon a week. But that's frankly not enough for a team, and it's a team that has been shouldered. The responsibility has been shouldered by one or two individuals, and obviously David is one of those for many years now. Now I don't blame David at all. In terms of an investment, it's not a very good one. What that ended up being was a very expensive season ticket for him, and credit to him for honouring all his agreements and the times that he agreed to put money in. No matter how rich a person you are or how successful a person you are, that must hurt as well. Putting the money that you'd earn from life outside rugby league into rugby league and getting no return for it. So I understand that side of it.
You mentioned as well, the Sky work that you do, and the fact that there was always a driving force to say, the importance of London in Super League. Is it funny that we haven't seen that now? I mean, they've had a tough year, and no one warrants a place in Super League just by default. But no one's really said, that Super League, needs this London side. Everyone seems to suggest that the London side going and having a rebuilding year in the Championship is the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, certainly Sky Sports don't have an opinion per se on whether London Broncos should or should not be in the Super League. We are the broadcast rights holders of the sport, and my personal opinion, as well as the opinion of Sky Sports, is that that's down to the governing body of the sport to ensure that that's not something that the broadcasting rights holders should or would get involved in. That said, my personal opinion is that yes, I think there is certainly a strong case for London being involved in Super League, but I think the return to promotion and relegation and the introduction of the new three-tier system has taken up the lion's share of the chat and discussion surrounding that. And I also feel that sport and professional sport, people should live and die on their own results. And unfortunately, on the field, Bradford Bulls and the London Broncos have not done enough this year. The problems are well documented. It's up to the clubs themselves, with the assistance of the RFL, should they need it and should they want it, and I know London did. It should have been forthcoming there, as it would have been. Should Wigan have come calling or Leeds come calling for some advice and assistance, because I think it's in the interest of the RFL and the whole game that our top clubs are allowed to flourish, and those clubs underneath the top flight are encouraged there to join that level in terms of the status and ability on the field. And the three-tier system that's been proposed by the RFL was a very, in my opinion, again, a very positive step, and I hope that they and I prove right next season. With that, and with the reduction of Super League from 14 to 12 teams, it's right that the two weakest teams drop out of the league. Now, the fact that that's London this year is unfortunate for London Broncos players, staff and supporters. But I think in terms of the wider game and the medium to long-term development of the sport, I'm fairly confident that you'll see London Broncos playing their part in the top flight in the not-too-distant future. So.
It's funny what you say as well. I mean, I didn't necessarily get you on to sort of give the opinion of Sky Sports, but I've never bought into this, the Sky need London in Super League. Like you say, they're just the broadcaster. They broadcast whatever teams are in there, and it's the competition that dictates what teams are in there. In terms of next year in 2015, signing of Richie Mathers for Broncos, they seem to have recruited well so far. They're not putting together a Super League quality side, but they don't need a Super League quality side. They've got it's the starting blocks, the building blocks, if not half of the wall already of a very good and solid championship division, championship team next year. It's going to be very competitive. It's going to be difficult, but do you think they're going about things the right way?
Yeah, two things. We'll come back to the individual signing of Richie Mathers in a moment. There are a lot of players who've left the club. Worryingly, looking from the outside in, there are a lot of London-born and developed players who are considering or have already left the club. That has to be a worry. Now, unfortunately, there's nothing that you can do about that. With free market and the free movement of trade, it's a player's prerogative to go and pursue the best opportunity for him in Super League or the Championship or wherever that might be. And for most young and aspiring players from the south, it's to play in the top division. Why would you want to settle for championship rugby? That's it's not a long-term aim for any player. You ask any player at the beginning of their career, they want to play for England, they want to captain the club, they want to play in the top flight. That's a given. In terms of the players that they have signed, I think Cordoba, I can't remember which way you pronounce
Cordoba,
it. I mean, it's obviously got some decent NRL experience. And Richard Mathers, yes, certainly the highest profile signing today. Bags and bags of top flight experience, Leeds and at Warrington where he enjoyed cup success as well, Castleford and latterly Wakefield where I think he's been instrumental actually in their turnaround in fortunes over the last 6 to 8 weeks. It is a surprise actually that he's, I don't know what the ins and outs there regarding his departure from Wakefield. That was a surprise to me that he was leaving, but I also think a big coup for any championship club, and particularly a championship club with ambitions to return in the first opportunity to Super League, that somebody with that experience, and I know he's a very professional sports person as well, and looks after himself and takes care of his body and does all those little things right that I know coaches love to see, and that is he's a fantastic role model there for a lot of young players coming through, and certainly a good signal of intent from the London clubs itself.
And 2 other quick questions, if I can just tag these on. Obviously, you spent a long time in London. You saw the development that was going on. We cover more than just London Rugby League on this programme, but spread it out across the south. South Wales Scorpions, Gloucestershire Old Goals, we've got Oxford, there's Hemel. Have you been impressed? Have you been happy to see these expansion teams come into the league? Are they doing a good job? Is it good for rugby league?
Yes, I think on balance I am. I think a lot of the blowout scores that you saw originally, particularly with the Scholars probably 3 or 4 years ago, those days are gone now, and these clubs are having time to bed in and find their feet, and I do think it's a genuine feather in the cap for the development and in those areas that you spoke about. And if we want this to be a national sport and we want more media attention, more sponsorship, more corporate involvement, bigger revenue streams, and ultimately more fans watching the game, then for me that's a very legitimate way of going about things. And it's no good. It's strange, Ramo, because I have had a foot in both camps. I'm a Yorkshireman and was born and raised in Castleford, and that was my team who I played half of my career for, and the other half, of course, in London. I kind of enjoy both perspectives, really. Certainly, I believe in the strength and the nucleus of Super League being in the heartlands in the north of England, but there's no harm in having that, so long as you've got the ambition to develop and push the boundaries, and not just in the UK as well, by the way. In the south of France,
of
big
course.
rumours about Toulouse and about what role they may play in the next couple of years. I think it all bodes well with the sport. I think people sometimes become impatient, and myself included, with the pace of the expansion and that quality, that drip down effect, and that filter through in terms of professionalism and application and what we deliver in the Super League week on week. But certainly I feel the Championship's a much stronger competition than it was a couple of years ago. That's evidenced by a lot of Super League clubs, Leeds Rhinos, Warrington Wolves, Wigan Warriors, top clubs, the Castleford Tigers signing Championship players, and those Championship players going on to do well in the Super League as well. So that's not something perhaps that would have happened 5 or 10 years ago, but or certainly with the same sort of confidence. And I think that's a huge step forward that's been made, and the new clubs that again you've mentioned, that they've played their part in that very, very definitely.
And finally, I mean, we could talk for hours, I'm sure, about various things and sit and reminisce about your times in London and all the things that went on. But your new life now, you're like you say, you're back in the north of England, and am I right saying you run a B&B? Are you getting up making breakfast every morning?
We own a small hotel in Harrogate, my wife and I, and we got 2 little girls who come and help out every now and again. It was something that happened kind of out of the blue, obviously, when I retired because of my injury. A lot of plans that we'd kind of had perhaps in the pipeline or had been discussing, but not in any great detail, had to snap into focus all of a sudden, as happens with a lot of players who finish their careers, and certainly earlier than they wanted to. So it was kind of something that come out of nowhere, but we haven't regretted a single moment of it. We meet new people every day. It's a great environment to bring my kids up in. It's a lovely part of the world, and yes, I was chef for the first couple of years, but obviously the Skywork built on the back of that, and so we've now employed a professional. Job, so,
don't play down your skills, Wellesley.
Yeah, my name's on the door right now. So I'm thoroughly enjoying still being involved in the game. I had no idea. I certainly knew, having seen the hairlines recede and go grey on a number of coaches that I'd served under my career. Coaching was not really something I ever wanted to get my teeth into. Certainly, the administration side or the commentary side, TV side of it appealed, as it does to a lot of people. And it's a great way of keeping in touch with the game, offering whatever bits of information or insight you can give, whether they're valuable or not, and earn a living from it. It's an enormous privilege, as was playing professional rugby league. I have a lot of friends in the north of England who, their options are restricted and limited, and they never got to pursue the dream that they wanted to do, and I did. And that's, I think for every professional player, when they retire, it's not something to think about immediately. But certainly, you've got me at a funny moment the last couple of months. I spent a lot of time with Robert Purdom, actually. He's back in his new life as a farmer in West Cumbria, and enjoying every moment of it as well. But he's still involved there as well. He's involved with the Egremont Rangers up there, and is involved. He has a loose affiliation with the Wigan Warriors there in terms of
talent spotting.
That's it. That's correct. Bringing in prospective talent, and I think that when you have players, I'm not speaking about myself, but certainly of Robert's stature in the game, to keep them involved in the game in whatever way they can only be a good thing for the sport as a whole. And as I said, a massive privilege, which is something that myself and Robert and various other people that are enjoying that sort of role. Danny Orr now as assistant coach in Castleford, he obviously fancied that, but his airline had already gone.
I was just going to say that.
We all understand what a privilege it has been and continues to be to be involved in this sport.
He's a good man, is Jon Wells, and interesting and honest opinion. I think you gather from the conversation that he's no allegiance as such to London, because it's such a different beast now than when he left, and he's looking at it from a completely neutral point of view and say, this is what I think of it from the position that it's in, and it's nice really that he's been able to take that step away, because of course a lot has changed, which is enabled to give him that view, and if things had maybe continued in a similar light, maybe he would be slightly more encouraged. But I think he says, the things are going well, and it gives you the outside opinion of even somebody that's been in the bubble. We heard of that, didn't we, with Rob Purdom a couple of weeks ago. So yes, interesting to hear what they think. So hopefully catch up with a few more former players in future weeks and months on the podcast. As I mentioned before, I'm going to be fortnightly at best for the next few weeks and months, if not indefinitely, but we'll see how it goes. Right, now the Challenge Cup is always a big event, isn't it, for fans in London, for people in the game, for rugby league in general, isn't it, really? And as part of that, the ball boys for the day, and I've got to think whether I actually explain this in this next bit of audio that I recorded a couple of weeks ago, was meant to include in last week's programme and completely forgot because it was so busy. Now, I'll explain it, and apologies if you get this twice in the podcast. The ball boys for the Challenge Cup come from the London Rugby League Junior League clubs. They get to have a day out in London. It's a great way and it's a great opportunity for them. And I went to the RFL's offices to do a little draw to record the draw being made of the announcement of the names, and this was played out at the London Junior League Finals Day at Hemel a couple of Saturdays ago. So this is already in the public domain. These names are already there, but wanted to include it in the podcast because that was a plan initially. I went along to record it. It was played out at the London Junior League Finals. So listen out to a few of these names, because these are the guys that you're going to be seeing with the balls and being the ball boys at Wembley on the Challenge Cup final day. So I thought it would be interesting for you just here. It's only a couple of minutes, and here's the draw from when I went to the RFL's offices. Good afternoon. For the next few minutes, we're going to be making the draw for the 14 ball boys, which will take part in the Challenge Cup final at Wembley on August the 23rd. All of the ball boys provided by teams from the London RL Junior Leagues, and each of the under-15 sides were given the option to nominate their players for the privilege of being at Wembley on August 23rd. So we have here a pot of all the names from the teams, and we're going to draw out one per team from the under-15s, which means there'll be 13 names drawn out, which means we have one lucky wild card where all the rest of the names will go back into the pot, and we'll draw that for the 14th ball boy for Wembley, as I say, for the Challenge Cup final on August 23rd. Also, they'll be involved in the very important Year 7 Champion Schools final as well, which also takes place on the same day at the National Stadium, not too far away from here. We're currently in the RFL's London office in the centre of London, a few days before your London Junior League finals games are taking place. But we'll now make that draw, and first team up is the London Scholars. So from their under-15s, the person who will be drawing out the names from the hat is Darren Pugsley from the London RL, and also Stephen Goyen from the office is going to be overseeing the draw as well. So Darren, London Scholars, the first name out the hat.
And that is Arnold Harrison.
So Arnold Harrison, congratulations, playing under-15s for London Scholars. You'll be one of the ball boys at Wembley on August the 23rd. Our next team and our next bag is Hayes and Ealing Vikings. Darren.
We've got Adam Khan.
Well done, Adam. Our next team, our next bag is the North Hearts Crusaders. Which one of their under-15s will be at Wembley?
We've got Dan Duke.
Congratulations to Dan Duke. And now the next bag is the Staines Titans, our fourth ball boy.
Kieran O'Brien.
So Kieran will be there as well. Now on to the Croydon Hurricanes. Croydon, their under-15s player will be
Ted Jones.
Congratulations to Ted as we quickly motor through Eastern Rhinos are next up.
And we've got Harry Luckman.
Congratulations, Harry. Now Elmbridge Eagles, the ball boy that's going to be selected from the club
is George Sanderson.
George coming out the hat there now for the Southend Spartans.
We have got Joseph Green.
Congratulations to Joseph. Medway Dragons, our next bag as we quickly get this production line going. Darren, who's from Medway Dragons?
We have got Lewis Hollidge.
Congratulations to Lewis. Now, with 4 teams left, the Newham Dockers
is Gavidas Jankauskas.
Congratulations now to the Southampton Spitfires as we get into the final 3 teams.
A bit easier, that's Sam Walker.
Sam Walker from Southampton. Final 2 then. Brentwood, first of all. Brentwood, our player from the under-15s of Brentwood,
is David Baker.
Congratulations, David. And our final of the 13, before we do the wild card, from Brixton Bulls.
Maybe playing today, Henry Simpson.
Congratulations, Henry. You'll be at Wembley on August 23rd. So now that's 13 ball boys for Wembley on the Challenge Cup final day. And now for the wild card, we got them all back in the bag. It's going to be there's quite a few names in there. Give it a shake, Darren. And here we go then. So for the final 14th wild card spot for the Challenge Cup final ball boy is
Taran Garawell of. We'll check his club. He is Hayes and Ealing Vikings.
So 2 players from Hayes and Ealing Vikings will be there on August 23rd. Thank you to Darren, thank you to Steve, and congratulations to those 14 ball boys, which you will see at Wembley for the Challenge Cup final on August the 23rd. Best of luck to everyone as well in today's London Junior League finals games. So once again, let's just recap. Congratulations to all of those young men who will be at Wembley on the 23rd of August. Should be an amazing day and extra special for them as well. So congratulations to the season that you've had for your Junior League teams, and I hope you enjoy the day at the Challenge Cup final. And we look forward to hearing many more mentions of your name on this podcast in the future, playing for whichever clubs you decide to go on to play for. Right, and that's almost it for the programme. One more thing to do. Got to mention that there is a fun day of sorts going on at the Hive, where Broncos now play, the home of Barnet FC. There's only a couple of tube stops up from the Challenge Cup final on Challenge Cup final day. The idea is to try and get people who are maybe travelling down to park at the Hive or to use the facility to have it as their base for the day. And there'll be rugby league activities going on, which means it might be slightly more attractive than parking on a North London street somewhere and then getting the tube a couple of stops in. So all the details here from a name that you may well recognise, Mr. Howard Kramer, formerly of London Scholars, now working with Barnet at the Hive, and obviously helping fix up a few rugby league things as well. So I've had a chat with Howard to find out a bit more about what's going on at the Hive on Challenge Cup final day. Howard, well, you've got a fan zone event at the Hive, which you're organising for the Challenge Cup. Just tell us a few more details about what it is and why you're doing it.
It came about after some conversations with Broncos and Millwood in particular. We're well situated here at the Hive. We're just a few miles from Wembley. Got parking on site here for over 400 vehicles. And it's a short stroll to Jubilee Line Station, Cannons Park, and then 8 minutes onto Wembley. So it seemed like a great opportunity for fans who are coming into the area. It's such a struggle sometimes to park and get to Wembley, to park up here, have a morning with us here because it's going to be open from 8 o'clock. Park up and take the easy journey, the tube ride to Wembley. And the venue will be open afterwards as well, right into the evening as well. So we'll have food and drink all day long going on here, and a number of other activities as well, for kids and families alike.
I mean, I know it's 1999 since a London team played at Wembley, so most of the fans for the Challenge Cup final have obviously travelled distance in the last few years, and many of their procedures involve sort of parking a bit further north, I guess, sometimes they're getting that Jubilee line down, which I know a lot of people do if they are driving, which many do. Like you say, you got parking there, and I guess this is a rugby league event as well, so rugby stuff happening there during the day as well.
Yeah, because the community coaches will be down here as well. We're looking to do some touch rugby down here, some kicking competitions. So it will be definitely rugby focused from that point of view. We're having to get a couple of slips down as well. There's going to be a corporate side to it as well, so there are some hospitality packages available. But for general fans who are just down with their family, just a place they can chill out in the morning, if they like, really, and have some food and drink and have some fun. Go on to Wembley and come back and no rush. The cars will be parked here safely and securely on site, all day.
It is one of those venues, Broncos having used it for a year now. It's a great resource. It's been used by football clubs when they've been, in at Wembley, and they've been having games against England. I think Brazil have used it, and many more. I'm sure you'll probably correct me or give me the full list. But it is so close to Wembley. I mean, this is a. Well, I guess it's something that now rugby league is associated with the Hive. It could become a place that is associated with those Wembley events. Yeah,
you're right. We've been lucky enough to have Brazil, Germany, and Chile, amongst others, train here before Wembley Internationals. And just last weekend, we've had Osasuna, Spanish club, train here. Yeah. And on Sunday, we had Monaco training here before they played in the Emirates Cup at Arsenal in the afternoon.
It's not a bad facility, is it?
Another Spanish team training here this Sunday. So from a rugby point of view as well, it works for any team, I suppose. Really, you could include rugby league, rugby union, American football teams that are playing at Wembley. It's a great training facility here. We've got good medical facilities here as well for people to use. With it being just 4 miles from Wembley.
And there have been stories recently about sort of what Broncos' future might be and stuff like that. This goes to show, I guess, doesn't it, that there is still support for rugby league and rugby league events at the Hive?
Yeah, lots of interest. Yeah, we've had some crossover as well now. We've had a few football supporters, curious, if you like, really. We did a membership offer recently to members of the Hive and Barnet to come and see some rugby league, and some have been coming back again. It's been a difficult season, there's no doubt about it, but some have been introduced to the sport for the first time. Certainly aware that the community side has been reaching schools in the area recently. It's gone into some new schools here as well. It's spreading the word. I think it's my belief is, and from my own time, scholars, that the sport's thriving in those levels in London.
And I suppose we've got to ask a question as well. Previously when we've spoken on the programme, we've obviously been talking about your role as scholars. You left there a couple of months ago. How come? How is it that you ended up talking to me about events at the Hive?
It's kind of full circle. I couldn't get away from it. This time of year. I work through 4 Friday Night Lights, and I know that it's taking place again this year. A fantastic event on the eve of the final. I believe it's at Enfield this year. And we were just talking, as I say, my conversations with all the people that I know at Broncos about how we could, in fact, have this place open on the day. It's such a great facility. It's so near to Wembley, and the idea is to actually grow the sport here. Football's here now. Football's quite new here. Barnet have only been here for 1 season, so it's not that far behind as far as the football side is concerned, but there's certainly room to grow rugby here. I think it's a great event to put it on the map. The teams that have come down here this year in Super League, some of them have been so well supported, recently Wigan and St Helens, and I'm sure Leeds in a couple of weeks' time, that the word is getting out there about this good facility. We've had great feedback on it.
And it may be a stupid question, but obviously you left Scholars, but you've obviously stayed, I guess, within sort of, sports consultancy, sports event management and stuff, which is why are you working at the Hive? Is that sort of in the capacity that we're talking to you now?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I'm working here. It's a love and a passion for sport. I suppose I started off with football, working in professional football a few years ago before I came into rugby league and working with Scholars. And that, my love for the sport of rugby league has grown over the last few years. I've really gone into it, but it's first, I'll call it what you like, really. But I'm back working predominantly in football now. But there's this inescapable link, really, with us hosting Broncos down here and helping out, working on match days there and helping with events there. So it's a good mixture for me from that point of view.
And I guess as well, we talked initially about the details of people who might be travelling, down from the north, potentially to go to the Challenge Cup final, but there'll be plenty of people in London and maybe from far and wide that will come and could well use the facility and take advantage of the events going on at the Hive. If people do want to, I don't know, you got to reserve a space, you got to reserve a parking space for this event?
No, you can pay on the day. There's 400 spaces here. There's a discount for pre-booking if anyone gets in touch with us here at the Hive. There's pre-booking rates for coaches, minibuses and cars, but certainly it would be fine to accommodate people on the day probably from about 7 o'clock in the morning. Most of the facilities will be open at 8 o'clock in terms of food, drink, entertainment, etc., but there'll be no problem coming on the day.
It's an early start then. If people do want to pre-book, how do they do that?
If they just get in touch if they just actually they can phone the Hive, which is no problem at all. The details are on thehivelondon.com. That's the website. And they can email info@thehivelondon.com and with their details, and we'll give them all the pricing and how to actually pay.
And that is it for this week's Rugby League Down South podcast. I will bring you the next one when I can. The idea I'm thinking is probably just to gather the interviews whenever I can, from day to day, from week to week, and once I've got a full batch of them, I'll publish a podcast and we'll put them up. At the moment it's all a bit complicated, time consuming to try and get all your tweets and comments and reaction into the programme. I'd love to do that, and to be fair, it's essential. I want you to feel part of the programme too, so apologies I haven't done that for the last couple of weeks, but I know that there are also many of you that listen to this programme and don't feel a necessity to tweet or to exclaim your delight at each interview, which is absolutely fine as well. So I hope that you are enjoying the programme. I hope you can continue to enjoy the programme, and I will continue to do my best for Rugby League Down South, and we will be back soon.